much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. So today we're going to be talking about building resilience and emotional skills to support behavior at school. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kennedy Fulcher. I'm the school counselor here at Cox Elementary. Let me grab you a worksheet really quick. And I'm just going to be sharing some of the tools and tricks I use here as a counselor. Questions are welcome throughout the presentation. A lot of these concepts are relatively simple, but when you put them into practice, that's when they get a little bit trickier. So please, if you have questions at any time, just raise your hand and I'll do my best to get to you. All right, what we will cover today, we will talk about building resilience in kids, helping kids understand emotions, supporting emotional regulation, talking about why behavior happens, simple strategies for behavior at home, and activities you can do this week. All right, section 1, resilience. So first of all, what is resilience? Resilience is the ability to handle hard things and bounce back. Kids aren't necessarily born resilient, it's a skill we teach. Kids build resilience when they try again after mistakes, when they solve problems on their own, when they experience safe, small failures, when they feel supported and encouraged, and when they see adults model calm coping. Hello, welcome. I have a worksheet for you. Thank you so much for being here. All right, why resilience matters. Children with strong resilience handle frustration better. They participate more in school. They are kinder to themselves. They're less anxious about getting it wrong. They recover from challenges faster, and it protects their long-term mental health, right? When I am working with a kid who I've noticed is really nervous or maybe has higher anxiety, resilience is one of the main areas I focus in. All right, so we develop a growth mindset. So kids with a growth mindset believe, I can learn this with effort, or my brain grows when I try. So we can model this by saying things like, you haven't learned it yet. Mistakes happen, help your brain grow. And let's figure this out together, right? Overcoming challenges and them learning they can overcome them challenges. So something we can try is something called growth mindset praise, okay? So we can say things like, I love that you kept trying, instead of something like, you're so smart, right? Praise effort, strategies, and persistence, not innate trait skills like smart or talented. This approach helps children build resilience, confidence, and intrinsic motivation. So I've got our first activity for us. I want you to think about and write down 3 compliments that encourage effort, persistence, or problem solving. All right, emotional development basics, right? So kids need practice with identifying feelings, expressing them safely, using coping strategies, and problem solving. Kids do not learn emotional skills from lectures. They learn from parent modeling, repetition, calm co-regulation, and practice during calm moments. So when I'm teaching kids coping skills, right, or we're talking about emotions, I don't start when they're at like a 10, right? I usually start when we're calm, right, and they're available and open to learning. All right, so emotional vocabulary. Kids act out more when they lack words for feelings, right? So we want to teach words like sad, mad, frustrated, worried, overwhelmed, nervous, tired, proud, disappointed, and excited. So we can use visuals, books, or simple feelings charts, right? A lot of times in my office, I'll have a chart or I'll have different toys showing different emotions, right? To help them practice and see it, right? We can verbalize our own feelings. So if you're having a tough day, it's okay to say, hey, I'm feeling frustrated right now, or I'm really excited, right? Showing the kids how we're feeling. Prompt the student to share what they are feeling, right? And we can start with those fun emotions like happy and excited. We can offer praise when your child is able to express how they feel, especially when they're facing more uncomfortable emotions, right? So if your child gets to the point where they're able to say, Mom, I'm really frustrated right now, I can't figure out this math problem, right? Praise that. Be like, thank you so much for telling me. I hear you and I can see that. All right, so once we've established how we're feeling, the next step is what we can do to help ourselves feel better. So here's some coping skills I use with the kiddos. I have belly breathing, so this one's kind of fun. I put my hands on my stomach, right? And I feel my stomach go in and out, and I prompt the kids to do the same. So when I breathe in, my belly gets big. I breathe out, my belly gets small, right? And I go, hey, can you feel it? Can you make a change, right? And we can like play with all of that and make it fun, right? We can count to 10. We can hug a stuffed animal. We can shake out our hands, right? So I do it like this, shake it, make it fun, right? A lot of times I'll also use smell the flower, blow out the candle. I will prompt, I'll be like, hey, what's your favorite flower? What's your favorite color? Okay, I've got a purple rose. Can you smell it? Oh, smell it really deeply, right? What does it smell like? Okay, now we've got a candle. Grab the candle in our other hand and we're gonna blow it out, right? And we're gonna blow it out really hard and strong and long. Okay, let's smell the flower again. Candle. All right, for my older kiddos, we can talk about journaling. We also do something called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding, right? So that is, we find 5 things in the room we can see. So look around right now, find 5 things. Tell yourself in your head. After we've done that, we find 4 things we can feel, right? So is it our clothes, our hair? You guys are holding papers, pens, right? Next, 3 things we can hear, right? So do we hear the teachers talking? You hear me talking? Do we hear the rustling of paper, right? 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing we can taste. So this really takes us out of the feeling that we happen to be feeling and into what is happening around us. Drawing, a lot of your kids love to draw, right? I have paper and pencil almost always. They always have really cool things to draw. They'll draw everything from their favorite character to how they're feeling to eyes. Eyes are very popular for kids to draw. I don't know why. Positive self-talk, right? So sometimes kids will say, oh, I'm the worst. I can't do this, right? And in that moment, that might be where they're at, right? But having them practice, hey, I am capable, when they're in a better headspace, and hopefully translating that to when things are hard can be really helpful. And just taking space, right? Sometimes kids need a break, and that's okay. If you see that they're at a 10, it might be like, hey, I see that you're feeling a lot of emotions right now. Let's take some space, right? And we can come back when you feel ready. All right, co-regulation. So children borrow our calm before they find their own. Your energy, tone, and body language teach emotional safety, right? So if they're little, right, we can try kneeling to their eye level. We might use a soft voice and slow breathing, right? If your child is really escalated, it helps them when you're not, right? So we show them we're calm. We slow down our breaths. We keep eye contact, right? If you're having difficulty regulating yourself, that happens to me too, right? Sometimes we're right there with them, right? It's okay to take a break and come back when you feel like you're ready, right? All right, now we're moving on to behavior and behavior, okay? So when a child is experiencing dysregulations or strong emotion, there's 2 kind of, I like to say upstairs and downstairs brain, right? There's 2 kind of brains. The feeling brain, or the limbic system, is in charge. This is the part of the brain that manages emotions, survival instincts, fight, flight, freeze responses. It's fast, automatic, and powerful. Dr. Rowe, were you able to get it, or is it a... Awesome, thank you. All right, and then we have the thinking brain, or the prefrontal cortex. That's temporarily offline if a student's really escalated, okay? This is the part responsible for logic, problem solving, impulse control, and rational thought. It can't function effectively when the brain is overwhelmed, right? This is why logic and reasoning don't work during like the big emotional moments, right? We need to help kids access their thinking brain, okay? So we have to regulate before we can correct, right? So if a student is escalated, they're really sad, they're really angry, right? That is the time to help them calm down, right? Once they are calm, then we can work out what's going on. How do we help them? Are there consequences? All right, so responding to big emotions at home. When your child is overwhelmed, these steps can help them regulate and learn. Like we talked about before, right? Stay as calm as you can. 2, validate the feeling, right? So that's acknowledging it without judgment, right? The thing that has happened could have been completely their fault, right? Offer regulation, right? So we might suggest a coping skill, or we might say something like, hey, do you need a little break before we revisit this? Keep words short, right? Less is more during this regulation, right? Their brains have a really hard time listening and hearing, right? So if we're giving them a long speech, it's probably a great speech, but they're not hearing us, right? And then we will address the behavior after they've regulated themselves. All right, so here are some of the strategies I use at school to support positive behavior. The first one is first, then statements, okay? So I clearly communicate expectations and consequence, right? For example, first we clean up, then we play, right? First you do your math, then we can have family game night, right? Those I find work really, really well, and it's very clear what they need to do and why they're doing it. Praise other behaviors, okay? So when a child is having a hard time, you can still find something they're doing well and praise that part. So for example, the student might be sitting in their chair and they are just like scribbling all over their worksheet, right? Sometimes I'll go, oh my gosh, thank you for sitting so nicely. I really appreciate that you were sitting so nicely in your chair, right? And that pulls them out. They're like, oh, wait, I am sitting nicely. And it kind of switches around the vibes a little bit so they can kind of calm down. All right, offering choices, right? Empower children by giving them limited acceptable options. Do you want to clean the table or put away toys, right? So giving them that choice helps them feel like they're a little bit in control while you're still getting the table cleaned or helping them clean up. Positive reinforcement. Acknowledge and praise desired behaviors immediately. Thanks for getting started right away. A lot of these kids, you can watch them light up, right? When you give them a compliment or when you notice the things they're doing right. We can create a calm down corner or a safe space, right? So a designated safe space for comforting items for children to self-regulate, right? So it's nice when there's a space they know to go. Hey, I can see that you're having a really hard time. Do you need to go to your calm corner? Or do you need to go to this special spot in your room where you know you can calm down? Limited, clear directions, right? Use concise language, focusing on 1 or 2 steps. First stop, then talk, right? Again, their brain cannot hear all of the words we're saying. So the less we say, the better. All right, so I have an activity which is not on your forms because I messed up the printing. Choose 2 strategies you will use this week and tell a neighbor. So if you wouldn't mind talking to the person or people next to you, can you pick 2 that you think might work with your child, and please share it with the person next to you. Anyone neighbors? Thank you. Oh, perfect. Can I look at it and just make sure okay. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Yep.
Okay, so the technicalities continue. For some reason, they're printed in 3 pages this time, so go with the flow. So I'm just going to pass this whole stack here. Take the one you need, okay? Sorry about that. Yeah, so you probably this is not the first page probably. So whichever you need, and then pass.
Thank you guys for being so flexible.
Well, it's like
That's probably a good call. Thank you. Sorry about that. That's so funny. What did I print? Now I'm like
You
so
did 1,
curious.
2, and then 5.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That was mine.
Oh,
It's the
yeah.
same on that. So 1, 2, and then 5, and then 3. It happens.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, I'm gonna bring us back. The sheets are being passed around currently. So if you can take 3, I think, and then pass it down, that would be amazing. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about SEAT. So behavior oftentimes is communication, okay? Kids show feelings through behavior before they can explain them. Behavior often serves as a need. So I was taught SEAT to kind of better understanding it. So all behavior comes from one of 4 things, right? 1, it could be sensory. They need a physical feeling or stimulation. For example, they might be jumping, fidgeting, spinning. 2 is escape. They want to avoid something challenging or uncomfortable. For example, running away from homework or refusing to do a chore. It could also be attention-based, right? They want interaction from adults or peers. For example, yelling, teasing, or interrupting. And finally, a tangible. So they want an object, food, or activity. For example, grabbing a toy or snack. So the key idea, behavior is a signal not just to misbehavior, it's helping us understand and help adults respond effectively. So I've got an activity for us. Actually, before we do the activity though, I'll give you some examples. So for example, refusing to start homework. So the function of that is escaping, right? They don't want to do their homework. Some solutions could be break homework into smaller choices, smaller steps, offer choices, math or reading first, or use a 5-minute start timer with praise for beginning, right? Another example could be yelling or arguing over tablet use. The function would be wanting to keep access to something fun, tangible, right? So we could give 2-minute warnings before transitions, set consistent tech schedule, praise calm turnoffs, and offer a replacement activity. All right, another example would be following and whining. So the function of that is seeking attention or connection. A solution could be providing short bursts of positive attention, teach them a tap and wait routine, right? So that would be, hey, once you've tapped me, I see you, but you have to wait till I'm done talking to this other adult or handling this other problem. We could also schedule small check-in moments, right? Your kids, they really want your attention, right? So giving them scheduled time, or they know they're gonna have 5 minutes with mom or dad at the end of the day, that can really help this one. All right, another example is jumping on the couch repeatedly, even after being asked to stop, right? The function will be sensory. So a solution would be to find a space where they can move without damaging the furniture, right? So I know we're still passing stuff around. So if you would like, I would like you to take a second to name 2 of your child's main behaviors, right? What are the things they're doing consistently that you're like, oh my gosh. And I want you to think about what is the function, right? Why are they doing this behavior, right? So is it sensory, attention, escape, or for a tangible item, right? And then I want you to think about what could be possible solutions now that we're thinking about that behavior through the lens of them needing something or wanting something. Oh, right, consequences. So why consequences matter. Consequences help children understand how their actions affect others and the world around them. Instead of focusing on punishment, natural and logical consequences teach responsibility in a calm and respectful way, right? So if we say something, we've got to follow through, right? That's how we build trust. That's how they know you're not really messing around. But we got to be kind of careful with consequences, right? Because if we over consequence or we use different types of consequences, that might just teach them how to lie or avoid, right? So logical consequences, they're created by an adult and directly connected to the behavior, right? They teach responsibility and problem solving. For example, cleaning up the first activity before starting a new one, right? Hey, you made a mess, you clean it up. Natural consequences. For example, a toy breaks because it was thrown, right? Happens on their own without adult involvement, right? This helps kids understand cause and effect, right? So if they're frustrated or they break something, right, we don't need to replace it, right, if that's a behavior, right? Or at least before we've had a conversation about it. All right, follow through matters. Consistency makes consequences meaningful. Calm, predictable follow through teaches safety and trust. If you set a limit or consequence, we've got to stick to it kindly and confidently. So I want to give a disclaimer. Make sure it's something that they're capable of, right? Every once in a while, I'll ask a kid to do something, and afterwards I'm like, oh no, they're not there. They're not ready for this, right? But we need to make sure we're following through. That way there's a trust built and they know what you're saying matters, right? We want kids to make good choices on their own, so not just to avoid punishment. So that's why I really recommend using natural and logical consequences. Any questions on that one? All right, preventing difficult behaviors with routines, okay? Routines help children feel safe and reduce anxiety by providing structure and predictability in their day. So, for example, morning, we want a consistent start to set the tone for the day, right? We want to be doing the same thing every single time, right? First, we're going to brush our teeth. Next, we're going to put on our clothes. Next, we are going to eat our breakfast, right? This helps reduce a lot of behaviors. Homework or after school, right? Clear expectations for activities after school. Maybe they know they have 30 minutes of free play, right? I recommend when kids get home from school, unless you've got like crazy sports schedules, which I know happens to a lot of kiddos, right? Giving them a little time just to chill. They've been behaving and learning and doing their best all day. A lot of times kids just need a second to decompress, right? But when it gets time for whether it's cooking, cleaning, homework, kind of all of the business things, right? Set a routine and have really clear expectations that will like lessen the behaviors around those things. Bedtime, relaxing steps for a peaceful transition to sleep, right? The same thing every night, right? Okay, at 8:30, we read a story. At 8:45, lights off, right? We have really consistent routines. And transitions, predictable cues for moving between activities, okay? So predictability equals fewer meltdowns. All right, here's some quick wins for you guys. Simple, actionable strategies you can implement today to foster positive behavior and emotional growth. 1, use fewer words during intense moments. Less is more. Keep directions brief and clear. 2, praise effort. Focus on the process, not just the outcome. I saw you really working hard on that puzzle. 3, use consistent routines. Predictability reduces anxiety and meltdowns. Stick to a schedule for meals, homework, and bedtime. Model coping aloud. Narrate your own coping strategies. I'm feeling frustrated right now. I'm going to go take a deep breath, right? Show the kids that you're doing these same strategies as well. Give choices. Empower children by offering limited acceptable options. Do you want to wear the blue shirt or the red shirt? Catch them being good. Actively look for positive behaviors and acknowledge them immediately. Reinforce what you want to see more of. And practice emotional skills daily. Integrate discussions about feelings and coping into everyday life, not just problems, right? All right, so I've got some activities for parents and kids to engage in these simple, fun activities to build essential resilience and emotional skills at home. Activity number 1 would be something like a brave moments jar. Label a jar brave moments. Each time your child tries something hard, add a slip of paper. Celebrate weekly. So the purpose of this is to build resilience and confidence, right? Oh, it's awesome. You tried something new. I saw that you were really nervous for soccer practice, but you still went out there and tried your best. Family feelings check-in, right? Choose a daily time, breakfast, bedtime, pickup. Everyone answers. Today I felt, happy because, and tomorrow I want to feel excited because. The purpose is building emotional vocabulary and connection. This one I think would be so easy in the car, right? So we're driving to school, or you're picking up from school, or we're driving to our activity, right? Just a little something we can talk about with our kids. Calm down menu, create a list of 5 strategies your child chooses from. It might be breathing, drawing, hugging a stuffed animal, reading, taking space, right? This will help them build emotional regulation. So when they're escalated, sometimes telling them to take deep breaths doesn't work. That might escalate more. They're like, no, I'm not taking deep breaths, right? But if we have a sheet and you've maybe talked about it with them beforehand, right? Like, hey, when you're frustrated, what do you need? And you can just be like, hey, here's your options. I'm ready when you are. Problem solving steps. Okay, teach the 4 steps. This probably isn't for my TK or kindergartners. Stop and breathe, name the problem, think of solutions, pick one and try it, right? So the purpose of this is resilience and executive functioning, right? So if something's going on, right, instead of just giving your child the answer, and I know a lot of the time you guys probably do have the answers, right? Talking it through with them and teaching them how to do it on their own. All right, and finally, try again challenges. So pick a skill they avoid: zipper, hanging, trying shoes, homework, new food. Practice 3 minutes a day. Okay, we want to praise effort. The purpose is a growth mindset, right? Teaching your kids, hey, you can overcome hard things, right? Okay, so I also wanted to teach you about a resource. So it's called Bright Life Kids, and it's a free California program that provides behavioral health support for children ages 0 to 12 and their caregivers. Families can access one-on-one video or chat coaching available in English and Spanish, along with age-appropriate tools for managing big feelings, anxiety, social skills, sleep, and daily challenges. Coaches can also help connect families to local therapy or community resources if additional support is needed. So here's how you access it. I also have it on your sheets now that I know you all have the correct sheets. So you visit Bright Life Kids, sign up for free, create an account, then you can schedule video chat or coaching sessions at a time that works for you. Also, if the internet is scary, I understand. They also have a phone number. All right, that is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.